So how does Nick Reiner's history of drug use or mental health issues play into a possible defense, Lou?
It very much comes into it.
After Rob Reiner and his beloved wife passed away, their family lawyer's release of the final will didn't bring peace. It set off a storm that no one saw coming. Instead of offering closure, it sparked outrage, confusion, and a flood of accusations. The shocking twist: their son, Nick Reiner, long seen as the most unstable and unpredictable of the family, was granted the largest share of the estate, said to be worth around $200 million. The reason, according to insiders, was his parents' deep concern for his well-being and future. But here's where things get wild. California law says that anyone who causes harm to their parents can't inherit their estate. Yet Nick was officially diagnosed with a mental disorder, and some legal experts whispered that this might be the very loophole allowing him to sidestep the rule completely. People started wondering, had Nick already known what was in that will? And if he did, could that knowledge have pushed him towards something darker just to secure his fortune? Meanwhile, his siblings, Romy and Jake, didn't sit quietly. They came out swinging. Lawyers, court filings, and a full-blown legal war. They weren't just trying to block Nick, they also questioned the part left to Tracy, the adopted daughter, arguing she wasn't technically blood-related. The tension ripped the family apart. Years earlier, Rob Reiner had once told friends, "My children are my lifeblood. I've never loved anyone more." But now, those heartfelt words echo painfully as his children tear each other apart in a ruthless battle over wealth and pride. Was that love ever truly unconditional, or had it quietly turned into a path toward greed and heartbreak from the very start? On December 14th, 2025, a chilling tragedy shook Hollywood to its core. Legendary director Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner,
Because, like we discussed just a few moments ago, there's the not guilty by reason of insanity, which that evidence can be used for. In addition, it might be used for purposes of a plea to get something like life without the possibility of parole, to avoid something like the death penalty, which DA Hochman has said may be on the table. So that's what's called mitigating evidence. It's going to be compiled, presented, and we'll see how far it goes for him.
were found lifeless inside their luxurious Brentwood mansion in Los Angeles. Police swarmed the property that morning, and within hours, the shocking news broke that their son, Nick Reiner, had been taken into custody. He was accused of being directly connected to the devastating incident that ended his parents' lives. The story spread like wildfire, leaving fans, friends, and the entire film community in disbelief. But once Nick was arrested, another question immediately stole the spotlight. Who would inherit Rob Reiner's massive $200 million estate? The late filmmaker had 4 children: Nick Reiner, Romy Reiner, Jake Reiner, and Tracy Reiner, his adopted daughter from his first marriage. The fortune, made up of decades of film royalties, properties, and investments, now hung in limbo, and the battle over it was just beginning. Estate attorney Sean Weisbart weighed in, explaining how California law handles such twisted inheritance cases. He broke it down clearly. The state has a specific rule known as the Slayer Statute, designed to stop anyone responsible for harming another person from profiting off that tragedy. According to Weisbart, if someone intentionally and criminally takes the life of a person they stand to inherit from, the law treats them as though they passed away before the victim. That means they lose every right to the estate, no matter what the will says. If Nick were to be convicted of first-degree charges as alleged, that rule would kick in automatically. His expected inheritance would then be split among the remaining siblings, Romy, Jake, and Tracy. And here's where it gets even more shocking.
District Attorney Nathan Hochman spoke today about how cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and heart-wrenching, and obviously we've seen that play out over the decades with the saga of the Menendez brothers. From your position in the courtroom, how does that family dynamic change things?
This is extremely difficult for the family because they are being pulled in different directions.
This law doesn't even require a criminal conviction to apply. A civil court could still enforce it if they believe there's more than a 50% chance that Nick intentionally caused the tragedy. However, Weisbart also revealed a jaw-dropping twist, a potential legal loophole that might change everything. The Slayer statute only applies when the act is proven to be intentional. So if Nick's defense team succeeds in arguing that he was not mentally competent at the time, the statute might not apply at all. That means if a court accepts that he acted without full awareness, he could technically still inherit every penny. It's a possibility that's enraged the public and left many wondering if justice could ever truly be served. But what's fueling the fire even more isn't just the tragedy itself. It's the shocking revelation hidden inside Rob Reiner's leaked final will. The document, which surfaced unexpectedly on online forums, allegedly contained details so disturbing that it turned grief into outrage overnight. Whatever was written in that will didn't just divide a family, it divided the entire nation watching from afar, leaving everyone asking the same question. What was Rob Reiner hiding in his final wishes that made this case spiral into chaos? The will, reportedly written about 2 years before Rob and Michelle's tragic passing, left everyone, from close friends to longtime colleagues, completely stunned. Its contents didn't just surprise the public, they rattled the very foundation of the Reiner family itself. According to the leaked document, Rob Reiner had made a decision that few could have predicted.
On one hand, they have to deal with the loss of both their parents in a heinous act of murder, while on the other hand, trying to decide, do we want to come to the rescue of our mentally ill sibling here? And that is very difficult for them to grapple with. We can only hope that they're able to find the strength and ability to sustain everything that they're going through.
He chose to leave an astonishing 70% of his estimated $200 million fortune to his second son, Nick Reiner, the same son now accused of being connected to the devastating loss of his parents. That massive portion, roughly $140 million, instantly became the center of chaos and debate. The inheritance reportedly includes full ownership of the copyrights to Rob's legendary films produced under Castle Rock Entertainment. Timeless works like When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, A Few Good Men, and even ongoing royalties from Seinfeld. On top of that, Nick was also said to inherit the family's primary Brentwood mansion, a charming New England-style home worth between $10 and $13 million, ironically, the very home where the heartbreaking incident took place. The reaction was immediate and fierce. Some believed Rob must have sensed his time was running out and wanted to secure his troubled son's future. Others saw it as blind parental devotion, an act of love that ignored years of red flags. Either way, this wasn't just a will, it was a mystery wrapped in emotion, guilt, and desperation. The rest of the estate was divided far more modestly. Around 20%, about $40 million, was reportedly set aside for Tracy Reiner, Rob's eldest daughter from his first marriage to Penny Marshall. Meanwhile, the remaining 10% was split evenly between his two biological children, Jake and Romy Reiner, leaving them with roughly $10 million each. It was an uneven division that many say reignited old wounds and deep-seated jealousy among the siblings. Rob's will also included a handwritten message, brief but powerful. I have always believed that each child has their own path, but Nick will need the opportunities I can give him. Those words tore through the hearts of those who read them, painting a picture of a father who loved deeply but worried endlessly. For years, both Rob and Michelle had been fighting alongside Nick through every storm, his addiction battles, failed career attempts, and stretches of complete instability. There were moments when Nick was nearly homeless, relying on his parents just to get by. Friends close to the family revealed that Rob's biggest fear wasn't losing his money, it was losing his son entirely. So he made what he thought was the only choice left, to leave Nick the largest portion of the estate, hoping it would give him one last chance at a stable and meaningful life. In Rob's mind, this wasn't favoritism, it was protection. He wanted Nick to inherit something solid, something that could outlast the chaos of his past. But that heartfelt intention now stands as the spark that ignited one of Hollywood's most shocking family battles. A battle where love, loyalty, and legacy collided in ways no one could have imagined. Even though Rob Reiner knew his son Nick was still battling many personal demons, the final message he left behind was short yet filled with emotion. He wrote, "I just want Nick to have a chance to get back on the right path so he doesn't repeat the mistakes I've seen." Those words hit like a wave of heartbreak, revealing that Rob's controversial choice to give Nick a larger share of the inheritance came from love, not favoritism, from a desperate father's worry about his son's future. As for Tracy Reiner, Rob's eldest daughter, she received 20% of the estate, around $40 million. Rob had taken into account that Tracy had her own family, her children, and the responsibilities that came with them. He wanted her to live comfortably, free from the weight of financial struggle, ensuring she could continue providing for those she loved. His decision seemed deeply personal, tailored to the unique needs of each child rather than based on equal numbers. The remaining 10%, about $20 million, was divided between Romy and Jake, Rob's two younger children. Rob reportedly believed they had already built stable, independent lives and didn't need as much help as Nick or Tracy. He had once told them, "You're grown and can stand on your own, but I want everyone cared for in their own way." The Brentwood mansion, part of Nick's inheritance, wasn't just a house, it was a museum of family history. It had witnessed birthdays, arguments, movie nights, and countless moments of joy and pain. Rob wanted Nick to keep that house, not just as property, but as a place to ground him, to remind him of where he came from and what truly mattered. But when the contents of the will leaked, the internet exploded with outrage. Fans, critics, and even casual observers couldn't wrap their heads around one thing. Why would Rob Reiner leave 70% of his empire, including his film rights and the Brentwood home, to a son accused of taking his parents' lives? Social media lit up overnight with disbelief and anger. Comments poured in. How could he trust someone like that? And this is proof that blind love can destroy families. Psychologists and legal experts soon joined the conversation. Some suggested Rob's deep affection and guilt-driven generosity may have unintentionally created a sense of entitlement in Nick, a pattern of rescuing rather than disciplining. One psychologist put it bluntly, saying that sometimes love without boundaries becomes the root of destruction. It was a haunting perspective. Had Rob's endless attempts to save Nick actually led him to ruin? Public sympathy quickly shifted toward Jake and Romy, the two siblings known for their quiet, independent lives. They had never asked for money, never made headlines, and now they were trapped in a scandal they never caused. Many saw them as the innocent victims of a father's misguided devotion. Still, despite the anger, there was sadness too, for Rob himself, a man whose love for his children might have blinded him to the storm he was creating. One viral post on X read, "Sometimes love without limits can be more dangerous than hate." That sentiment summed up the world's reaction perfectly. Rob Reiner's compassion had turned into a heartbreaking tragedy. When the will was formally read on December 19, 2025, Jake Reiner was in Houston. At exactly noon, an email from the estate management office appeared in his inbox. As he scrolled through the numbers, his heart sank. 70% for Nick, just 5% for him and Romy. "This can't be real," he muttered, staring at the screen, pale and trembling. "Dad promised he'd be fair. Nick already destroyed everything, and now this?" Furious and overwhelmed, Jake canceled his plans, booked the earliest flight back to Los Angeles, and landed that same night, determined to fight back. The moment he touched down, he rushed straight to Lyons & Associates, the elite Hollywood law firm long entrusted with the Reiner family trust. Inside the sleek glass tower, Jake slammed his palm on the reception desk and demanded to see attorney Teresa Lyons immediately. "I'm Jake Reiner. I need to see her now. This is about my father's will." His voice echoed through the marble lobby, catching everyone's attention. Teresa Lyons, a calm, sharp-minded attorney with over 20 years of experience handling celebrity estate disputes, met him in a private conference room. She had anticipated this confrontation the moment the will went public, but seeing Jake's fury up close was something else entirely. "Jake, I understand your pain," she said gently. "Your father's goal was to protect Nick because he worried for him, but with these criminal charges, everything could change. The Slayer statute might come into play." Jake's jaw tightened, his eyes red with rage. "I don't care about Dad's reasons anymore. Nick took them from us. I want to fight for what belongs to me and Romy." Without hesitation, he signed a contract right there to begin a civil lawsuit. To strengthen their case, Lyons brought in powerhouse attorney Mark Geragos, a veteran known for defending A-list celebrities in Hollywood's most explosive legal battles. Geragos agreed to represent Jake and Romy in their lawsuit, arguing that the will was unreasonable because it didn't account for Nick's alleged actions, and that the Slayer statute should be applied immediately to freeze his inheritance. The next morning, Jake and Romy sat across from their legal team in Geragos' office. The tension was thick. Stacks of documents covered the long conference table, and in the center sat a single folder labeled Reiner Estate. Romy's eyes locked on the page that showed 70% allocated to Nick. Her voice shook as she whispered, "Why would Dad do this? Nick already destroyed everything, and now he wants it all?" Jake clenched his fists. "I don't get it either. Dad worried about Nick, sure, but $140 million in the house where everything happened? Meanwhile, we get scraps." Romy's tears spilled over as her anger broke through. And Tracy, she's not even Mom Michelle's biological daughter. She still gets 20%. Why does she get more than us, the ones they raised together? Jake nodded bitterly. Exactly. Tracy has her own life, her own career. She's fine. But us? We were the ones who stood by them, built our own paths, never asked for a dime. Now it feels like we're being punished for being independent. Garagos stepped in calmly. I know how unfair this feels. But remember, if Nick is convicted, his share will automatically be voided under the Slayer statute. As for Tracy, though, she's a legally adopted daughter. Under California law, that makes her equal to a biological child. Challenging her share would mean proving your father was influenced or not of sound mind when he wrote this will, which is extremely difficult. Romy slammed her hand on the table. No! We can't let this stand! Not $1 should go to Nick or to Tracy either. She's not Mom's biological child, and this inheritance belongs to us, the real children of both parents. Jake immediately agreed. You're right. We'll file to freeze the estate until the case is resolved. We can't let outsiders profit from this nightmare. But the legal war was only beginning. Just as tensions reached a breaking point, a new twist hit the headlines. A name outside the immediate bloodline suddenly entered the battle. Tracy Reiner, after learning about her younger siblings' plan to contest the will, decided she wasn't going to sit quietly either. And that move turned the already chaotic family feud into an all-out war that no one in Hollywood could ignore. Tracy didn't waste a second. She immediately hired her own powerhouse legal team to defend the 20% of the estate left to her in the will. Determined to protect what she believed was rightfully hers, she argued that as the eldest child, she had been the glue holding the family together for years, caring for her parents, managing family tensions, and keeping the bond between siblings alive. To her, taking away her portion wasn't just unfair, it was a personal betrayal. Tracy brought in David O. Carter, one of Hollywood's most respected inheritance attorneys, to represent her. Within hours, Carter fired off a strongly worded legal letter to Mark Geragos, the lawyer representing Jake and Romy. In it, he warned that if they continued to challenge Tracy's portion, he would launch a countersuit on her behalf. The letter demanded that the court uphold the will in full, except for Nick's share, which Carter acknowledged could be frozen due to his legal troubles. Tracy Reiner has the same lawful rights as any biological heir, the letter declared. Any attempt to exclude her will be met with full legal resistance. That statement made headlines instantly. What had started as a quiet legal process now exploded into a three-way war. Nick's future uncertain, Jake and Romy fighting for fairness, and Tracy ready to battle for what she saw as justice. Court filings flew back and forth, law firms buzzed with strategy meetings, and the entire Hollywood press corps camped outside downtown Los Angeles courthouses just to catch the latest update. The public couldn't look away. Social media feeds filled with heated debates, some siding with Jake and Romy, saying they were just fighting for fairness and for the legacy of their late parents. Others defended Tracy, arguing that she had been loyal, loving, and present when the family was falling apart, and that she deserved her share for standing by Rob and Michelle through it all. But amid the chaos, one heartbreaking truth stood out. If Rob and Michelle could see what was happening, they'd be devastated. Their lifelong dream had been unity, not division. Those who knew them best said the couple lived for their children, always putting family before fame. Rob, despite being one of Hollywood's busiest directors, was known for his warmth, humor, and constant presence at home. He coached his kids through school projects, career changes, and personal setbacks. He never stopped showing up, no matter how packed his schedule was. Friends close to the Reiners said Rob often reminded his children, "Your parents will always be here listening and helping whenever you need us." His words carried weight because he truly lived by them. Both he and Michelle were hands-on, loving parents who backed their kids through every storm. They didn't just offer emotional support, they gave their time, energy, and resources to help them stand tall. For Nick, that love went even deeper. Rob and Michelle poured everything into helping him recover from years of addiction and instability. They even worked alongside him on the emotional project Being Charlie, hoping it would reconnect their family and help Nick find purpose again. It was meant to be a fresh start, a bridge between the troubled son and the parents who refused to give up on him. Romy once shared with friends, "Our parents never abandoned us no matter what. Jake and Romy had both described their father as not just a parent, but a friend, someone who laughed, guided, and comforted them through life. But now, all that love had turned into heartbreak as the family he built with such care began tearing itself apart in front of the entire world. Rob Reiner's friends often said that no matter how chaotic his Hollywood life got, his heart always stayed with his children. He was patient, kind, and endlessly compassionate, always making sure that no one in his family ever felt forgotten, no matter what storm they were facing. Even during moments of heartbreak and struggle, Rob's love guided them all like a steady light in the dark. Those close to the Reiners often said that Rob lived by one rule: family always comes first. He wanted every one of his children to feel safe, loved, and supported through every season of their lives. Even Tracy, despite being tangled in the inheritance war, admitted through tears that this feud went against everything her parents had ever taught them. She recalled how Rob would often say, "Family comes first. You must always cherish and protect one another. Never let money destroy what truly matters." Those words now haunt the conference rooms where the Reiner siblings argue and sign legal papers. They echo through every tense conversation, reminding everyone that this was never how Rob or Michelle wanted their story to end. Meanwhile, all eyes have turned toward Nick Reiner, whose calm, almost calculated demeanor has baffled both reporters and the public. Despite facing some of the most serious criminal charges possible, Nick appears strangely composed and focused. His choice of defense lawyer sent shockwaves through Hollywood. Alan Jackson, one of Los Angeles' most powerful criminal defense attorneys, known for representing huge names like Kevin Spacey and Harvey Weinstein. With legal fees reportedly exceeding $2,000 per hour, people were left wondering, how could someone with no steady job and a long history of personal issues afford a legal dream team like that? Sources close to the case claim that Nick's strategy is crystal clear. He plans to center his entire defense around his mental health. His goal? To argue that his condition not only affects his sentencing, but could also protect his inheritance rights. If his defense works, it could mean that even under the Slayer statute, Nick might legally keep his 70% share of his parents' estate, an amount worth roughly $140 million, including the film copyrights and the Brentwood mansion itself. But here's where it gets even darker. Some insiders believe Nick's plan was deeply thought out long before the tragedy. They claim he understood the laws well enough to use his mental health diagnosis as a loophole, protecting both his freedom and his inheritance. If true, it would suggest that what the world first saw as a tragic outburst could have actually been part of a carefully crafted scheme driven by greed and desperation. Investigators have reportedly traced some of Nick's attorney fees to assets he controlled before his parents' passing: trust funds, savings, and other holdings. If these reports are accurate, it paints a chilling picture. Even before the tragedy, Nick may have positioned himself financially to handle this exact kind of crisis. Whether through legal foresight or cold calculation, the thought that he could twist love and law into tools for profit has left the public speechless. Still, psychologists remain divided. Some say Nick is both a victim and an aggressor, a man shaped by addiction, mental illness, and years of inner chaos. Others believe his actions, whatever their motive, were too deliberate to ignore. The line between sickness and manipulation has blurred beyond recognition, leaving even experts unsure where compassion ends and accountability begins. Beyond the courtroom, the spotlight has turned once again to the incredible legacy Rob Reiner built during his lifetime. His estimated $200 million fortune wasn't just money. It was a monument to decades of passion, creativity, and relentless work. From his breakout role as Meathead on All in the Family, which won him 2 Emmy Awards, to his transformation into one of Hollywood's most iconic directors, Rob's career shaped generations of film lovers. He co-founded Castle Rock Entertainment in 1987, the powerhouse behind classics like The Shawshank Redemption, When Harry Met Sally, and A Few Good Men. The studio became a cornerstone of Hollywood success, eventually sold to Ted Turner in a multi-million-dollar deal that secured Reiner's financial empire. Even after the sale, Rob continued to receive profits from his films, his legacy paying dividends long after he slowed down his directing career. And then there was real estate, another cornerstone of his wealth. The Reiner's Brentwood estate wasn't just a house, it was a living archive archive of their lives together. Bought in 1991, the mansion spanned nearly 1,000 square meters, featuring lush gardens, a pool, and the kind of quiet luxury that only comes from a lifetime of work. Valued at over $10 to $20 million, it was the crown jewel of Rob's success and the site of his most heartbreaking final chapter. He also owned a Malibu Colony beachfront home, one of the most exclusive neighborhoods in California. That property wasn't just a retreat, it was a gold mine, earning hundreds of thousands in rental income during peak seasons. And before that, Rob's Beverly Hills investments had brought in millions more, proof of his sharp instincts and unmatched drive. Piece by piece, Rob Reiner built not just a fortune, but a fortress, one meant to protect his family long after he was gone. Yet now, that same fortune has become the weapon tearing them apart. The Reiner family's story has turned from Hollywood dream to tragic cautionary tale. Love, once their greatest strength, has become their battlefield. What began as devotion ended in division, leaving the world asking, how could a family built on love and legacy fall so far? Was Rob's endless compassion the key to his downfall? Did his generosity open the door to destruction? Or is this story simply proof that even the strongest families can crumble under the weight of money and grief? What do you think? Can the Reiner family ever heal, or has this scandal gone too far to repair? Let me know your thoughts down below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment to keep this story alive. We'll see you on the next one, where we'll uncover even more shocking twists behind Hollywood's most heartbreaking family saga.